employment. And I guess the right way to look at that, it's through the lens of specifically for Saudi Arabia, as I guess all of us either are based in Saudi Arabia or are part of Saudi Arabia, is to look at diversification of the economy through the lenses of the important vision 2030. I guess that really thinking about thriving economy, vibrant society, and unique example. I guess this is the right way. So I will not look at only one example, but how can we really support the empowerment of the private sectors, support employment in a sustainable way, and also how can we do so? So the great emphasis given to governance, transparency, how we can do so, how we can empower citizens to be part of this transformation as it's happening. And honestly, personally, I feel very honored and blessed to be part of this transformation, being here and benefiting from the great changes, both at the personal level and a professional level. So I guess as from the previous panel, I'm working for an important part of the transformation bigger projects, and specifically, and I guess NEOM itself is part of this transformation. And it doesn't want to be something, just an initiative, just at the domestic level. But on the contrary, a best practice left of the global level by the leadership and the country itself. And I guess that the aim to be an example, not only at the present time, but in the future. So our first milestone is going to be in 2030. It's one of the most important elements. How we can look from now in 9 years now. I was used to say 10 years.
Yeah.
How we can lead this transformation in the region and potentially globally. And I think that the way we are thinking of becoming self-sufficient, but as well able to export technology to really change the perception. So not only by diversification, but eventually being the driver of this diversification. And I guess one of the examples we have in NEOM is the study of a new technology for desalination water that might be exported directly from NEOM. So that's, I would say, this is a revolutionary approach in thinking how actually it's not only becoming self-sufficient, but so self-sufficient to be able to export technology, to be able to be a best practice. And specifically for NEOM, the aim is to become a best practice for a cognitive city, for a sustainable city, and an accelerator of human progress. So I guess that the key for self-sufficiency is to look at an holistic approach that looks at diversification of the economy, specifically for service, with an increased contribution of the private sector up to 65%, and non-oil export, how we can empower our young generation, generally investing in human capital, but I guess say that due to the average age of such countries in their entirety, it's very important to invest in human capital. And as well being able to anticipate, looking at the future, potential future crisis. Inshallah, hopefully we will not have to face anything similar to what we just faced, but being able to invest in risk analysis, risk management, and be ready. And I guess that we need to praise this country for the way it's been able to face pandemic till now, but even enforcing this and potentially looking at future threat.
Dr. Celeste, like for everybody that's listening, I want to ask you a question. What is NEOM? I really want to know what is it, because I try to understand. It's such a complex project that it's really hard to understand it or to encompass. So what is NEOM?
Mohammed, thank you for this question. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to explain really what NEOM is, and also to explain very well what is not. Because every time I receive a question, say, which is the status of the infrastructure development? And I have a hard time to explain that NEOM is the city of the future, but in terms of ecosystem, not just first-class infrastructure that need to attract tenants. We don't want to attract tenants, we want to attract talents. Actually, the vision of our leadership is to attract the best talents and minds in the world, to empower them to unlock their creativity and imagination. So what is NEOM? NEOM is a physical reality. It's a real city that we are building in northwestern of Saudi Arabia. And that's on a land that span of 27,000 square kilometers at the border of Jordan, and comprise beautiful landscape from the Red Sea, the mountain, and the desert. But out of this immense land, we will build only 5%. 95% will be a natural reserve where we will not only preserve nature, but enhance and revitalize it. So what we will be built, it's an ecosystem. It's not really just an infrastructure project, able to attract not only talents, but partners. And why so? Because NEO, it's the biggest of the PIF Giga project in terms of size of the land, as we saw, but also budget, $500 billion. And that cannot come only domestically. But our major challenge, ambition, and willingness is to have like-minded partners that will come and will help us not only to invest together, but also to reinvent the future way of living it. Our major milestone is to have this city up and running by 2030, with 1.2 million people living there and 5 million visiting. And we have, as a city, 16 different sectors. How we can be the best in class in understanding and rethinking the 16 different sectors, sport, culture, energy, water, in a futuristic and sustainable way. So we need partners that will help us to do so. And just a very small example to really transfer the idea of how we will be living there. Energy will be 100% renewable energy. Water will be zero liquid discharge water. And mobility, as has been presented through the presentation of the line, our first project, will be only self-driving electric vehicle and green hydrogen power one. Wow. So we are putting together innovation and sustainability. And echoing maybe what we discussed earlier in terms of physical reality and virtual reality. There will be a twin of NEOM, a virtual twin that will be exchange information with our physical reality constantly. And we are able to govern a city in the most advanced way, where the integration of physical reality and virtual reality will enable the greatest standard of livability. So everything has been conceived in a way where we want really to provide people to experience the most sustainable, a high level of standard livability, even at the level of the new industrial city. Even the people who will be working and living in the city will experience high level of livability. So sustainability is the core of the project. But as I said before, sometimes we think that is enough. No, we also need to contribute to the country GDP. It will be all this conceived in a way to be profitable as well, to stop the leakages of the healthcare tourism, of the tourism itself, to empower our human capital, and of course, the country human capital. So it's absolutely, as you said, Mohammed, a very sophisticated project, lot of aspects. And I think that the major ambition is really to become a best practice for a cognitive city. And hopefully other cities will follow our example, both at the cognitive level and at sustainability level, in the way we preserve, and we have to preserve the natural landscape as an integral part of this big project.
Wow. Okay, that's going to take me a minute to understand. I'm going to go back and research it once we're done. Mr. Yasser Sahil, when it comes to gaps in terms of self-sufficiency, you're attacking this from a different angle. I understand that you're starting your very own touristic resort down in Jeddah. We've known Saudis have been the largest contributors to tourism abroad. So it's time for you guys to be self-sufficient within Saudi. Can you explain to me, like, what was the motivation behind this project?
Well, actually, the project is, it's been ongoing for some time in terms of it. It's been on the, the cards effectively, for more than a few years, I'd say. But I think in terms of its timing, it couldn't have come at a better time. We were very fortunate in the sense that it's totally, in our view, in line with, the country opening up. And also in terms of, what the country is trying to do locally in terms of trying to encourage local tourism. So I think we are, as you said, there are, over billions of dollars every year, and reals go outside. And so I think we believe in the fact that there is a lot the country has to offer, especially here in the Red Sea on the Jeddah coast. And it isn't, you know, it really doesn't, you know, it's really about basically building a world-class resort that is, you know, going to be hopefully up there in terms of, you know, other resorts globally. And I think it will, it's, you know, it's also about building communities, because I think that's something we all have grown to appreciate around the whole kind of COVID thing, because, you know, it's been a very taxing time, I think. But I think from the perspective of trying to build, you know, closed, healthy communities that everyone kind of engages in, well, bubbles, kind of knows each other, is really what it's about. So I think there is that. That's the drive really behind that project. So it's really, you know, that's what it's, you know, what we're trying to do there. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you another question, a follow-up question. What were some of the resources that you felt like if they were present would have made your life much easier in making this project happen?
Good question. Yeah, I think it's in resources in terms of, can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Whatever resources, in case, like, because you need to build with raw materials, you need to build with porcelain, you need, like, did you need to import something? Did you need to import talent?
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of, firstly, as an architect, I can tell you, you know, the project was designed with, you know, local architects here and also international, in collaboration with international architects. In terms of the supply chain and in terms of the procurement, the project is basically obviously being built with a very good local contractor we were very happy with. And also in terms of resourcing materials, we're always trying to basically, it's quite, I think the challenge is to go completely local there, but I think we aspire to, you know, to source as much local materials to the project. In terms of the aesthetic and the look and feel, it's also, again, aspiring to be as local and be at home here in Jeddah as much as possible in terms of its appearance. So I think, you know, we believe in, you know, local, and I think that's something that, you know, we always try and achieve. There's also the ESG, there's also the, I don't want to greenwash the project, but I think we're trying to basically obviously try and, it's a very important environmental location in terms of, and we're very, very, because it's actually an operational project as we speak, we're very, very aware of the fact that, you know, polluting the sea and is really not what we want to do. So I think it's quite important to ensure that we don't ever, you know, damage the environment. And also we respond to trying to create a sustainable project. You know, we you know, in terms of the way it utilizes its energy. So we are tapping into solar, you know, external lights and that have you. You know, the challenge I think would have been to basically make the project completely an eco project. I think we're not 100% yet there in terms of sourcing that type of, but we're trying, you know, I think is really the answer to your question to respond to that.
So what is one thing that if you felt like was there locally present would have made your life 10 times easier in creating this project? One sector, one thing that you depend on that is completely outsourced out of the country and is a major pain in the back, and then, like, if it was there, would have made your life 10 times easier?
I think it's another good question. What would have made our lives easier in terms of the would have been, I think, firstly, sourcing, you know, at this scale, because it's really not a mega project. See, it's a, you know, it's a project at our scale. You know, sourcing, you know, excellent contractors who can deliver that has always been a challenge, I think. And I think we went through an intense screening process to try and find the right people to build this. I think that's one of the areas that we struggled with in the beginning, but we thankfully found, like I say, a very good contractor to execute. The other one I think is I think to do with the I think it's recognizing the project is, I think it would be good if we had to be able to that there was a kind of projects that were essentially meeting. There's obviously we're still trying to deal with all the issues here in terms of trying to get things constructed and built, in terms of getting the approvals and planning, and that's still it's always going to be a challenging environment here for sometimes for that. But I think it's I can say that the situation has greatly improved over the years. So I think there have been various challenges, but I think we've managed to thankfully step up to most of them. And the project is on track. It's basically I think given COVID, it's only 3 to 4 months behind schedule, which is quite remarkable, really. That's we're very pleased. That's also with the progress that's being made on site. So, 2 days a week I'm on site with a hard hat and keeping track of how things are going, and I'm very pleased with the work that the contractors are doing there. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, it answered. It definitely answered. Yeah. Ms. Haneen, we're going to move on to you. What do you think are the gaps in national self-sufficiency? You've been in this business for 25 years. You've had contacts with investors, with the top 250 families. Where are the areas that you feel require the most attention?
Okay, first of all, I would like to just make a little comment about Yasser.
Yeah.
Because not only is he an architect, he's a very tasteful gentleman, as is his brother, who I know very well. They're very, very tasteful. So I am sure and confident that their project is going to be second to none, and they have an amazing location in Jeddah. And Yasser also lived in Asia, and he has a lot of Asian elements in his life. So they're going to bring another level of resort kind of lifestyle, but they're also discreet people. So it's going to be, I think, you're very much East meets West kind of project. I'm looking forward to it, Yasser. I'm sure it's going to be.
Thank you, Haneen.
I'm sure it's going to be.
We'll invite you to cut the red tape when it first finds.
No, you're not getting away with that. I want lifetime guarantee membership.
Okay, all right.
I'm just joking. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
So I come from things kind of, I look at it a little bit more from an angle of the family office. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, I've been operating, I'm a Saudi myself, and I've been operating in Saudi Arabia for more than 25 years.
No, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you.
Can you all hear me? No?
I can hear you, Haneen.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, now I think you're back on.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so obviously I'm Saudi myself, and I've been dealing with Saudi family offices and principals throughout my career. So what I would kind of come back and discuss with you is what I hear from them directly, people like Yasser or people like Walid. Respectfully, Walid, it's nice to meet you. And basically, what they come back to me when I had a little bit of a chat with them over the past year with COVID. So COVID has really changed things up a lot. And I've never seen this dynamic before, where people kind of are going back to basics. They're minimizing their risks. They're minimizing, they're investing locally. They want to manage their risks locally. So it's created a kind of a, I want to control things around me. I want to control my money, how it's invested, because COVID kind of cut everybody off from the rest of the world. So psychologically, people internalized again. So I'm really noticing this a lot with the investors. Sustainable businesses for family groups, I suppose, are a little bit different than when you're talking about an overarching model or an overarching plan. A family will look at himself as, how are we going to invest our money? We want to make returns, and we want to do them as quickly as possible. And businesses we can own ourselves and grow. So that includes the impact of new technologies that will enhance yields. I'm sure that Walid can also appreciate new technologies, increasing efficiencies, increasing yields to core businesses, online e-commerce type of technology. So I'm sure Walid can add a lot more value to that because of Danube and what he's doing. Manufacturing locally is a big one as well. Since COVID happened, there's a lot of things that you can manufacture locally. You no longer need to import them. Qatar is a model of that. They kind of had their pre-COVID crisis. They geared up. COVID arrived. They were already pretty much sustainable with food and meat and etc. So they had stuff already available because they had to do it. So it's the complacent attitude that maybe many of us got used to of things work, why fix it? And then suddenly we're drawn 10 years into the future without even knowing it. We're jump started into the future. It's like, okay, if this happens again, we need to be ready. So it also comes into healthcare. It's not the classic healthcare of buying a hospital or creating a diagnostic center. No, but it's building or manufacturing components to support that business. There's a lot of manufacturing that's come around healthcare, not just sanitizers and syringes and masks, which of course I tried my best to get into myself to open a mask factory. I thought I was going to new. I found about 6 million people, they already did it. So there's a lot of things that, there's a lot of things other that come into that whole sector, right? And then if you're, and then you're talking also food security. Food security is a big deal now. And agriculture is a big deal now. So the importing needs logistics, etc. So that logistics channel has really slowed down a lot in COVID. So people say, okay, fine, how do we secure ourselves logistically, internally, in food and security and agriculture? So there's a lot of this hydroponics, this drip irrigation, these water kind of technologies. The Israelis, I don't know if I can or cannot, but because I live in Dubai, they're coming in with a lot of these kind of things that enhance yields, agriculture, drip irrigation, and it allows you to make a lot more money and yield on what you're actually doing now in agriculture. So they're really good at it. So there's a lot of different things that I'm seeing. Tourism and hospitality. I mean, Alea project, a UNESCO project in our country is a big deal. And what they've done in Alea is totally amazing. And the mirrors and the architects that are coming into Alea, the mirror project is out of this world. I mean, I really almost, when I saw it, I was just almost really, I was so proud. And it's just fantastic to see the Red Sea project, which is going to just wipe Sharm el-Sheikh off the face of the earth, because it's boutique hotels, it's gorgeous hotels. We're no longer talking Marriott and Hyatt Regency and Intercontinental. We're talking Bulgari and Baglioni and Amman. And the gentleman that's running the Red Sea project is the one that developed Nassau in Bahamas, John Pagano. He's top of his game. So, he does ecosystems and pristine beaches, and he understands the discerning and high class and nice travelers. He understands that system really well. I'm expecting it to be absolutely beautiful. And I'm seeing a lot of the families that I know, they're opening hotels there. Okay. And it's boutique hotels. And it's the type of stuff that Yasser would like to get involved in, where it's kind of boutique-y and designed, etc. And then you have, of course, the food and the agriculture and the online grocery and the e-commerce, which is a big deal now. And Walid, I'm sure, can add a lot of value in that sector. We'd love to hear from you, Walid.
Mr. Walid.
Sure. Thank you, Haneen. So as Haneen mentioned that during the pandemic, and as we are the #1 retailer in Saudi Arabia, moved to e-commerce, we are so proud to have that transformation. Although there were some challenges, we had a massive increase in the number of orders and deliveries, but we successfully managed to deliver to our customers their shopping experience and need during the pandemic.
Mr. Walid, I'm going to ask you a question when it comes to gaps in national self-sufficiency. You are a human resources veteran. You have over a decade of experience in human resources. What are the gaps when it comes to human resources?
So one of the gaps that when the government announced that in 2019, some of the initiatives, and we are as a supermarket, we are in supermarket sector, we are very proud to be a part of that when the government announced that they want to increase the number of organic growth in the farms and to increase that number to 300% by 2030. And today we are, as a supermarket, we are supporting these farmers, the local farmers, in order to increase the organic growth in the farmers.
Mm-hmm. But when it comes to hires, when it comes to human resources in terms of hires and whatnot, do you feel like there's a skill gap that you continuously need to import from abroad, or is all the skill gaps covered?
It's not 100% covered, but still we need to have the hiring abroad. But today, the current market, they have very good talents, and we can see them in different positions all over the sectors. So we have a good capable people in Saudi Arabia.
That's great. So I've got one question for you. We're going to start with you before we go to the rest of the panelists. We've just been through this COVID thing and we're still going through it, but I think the major hit of it has been over. How do you think family offices can better help governments manage these crises?
So let me take it from the first step. When the COVID pandemic crisis being started in the world, we found disruptions in the supply chain, and that could cause increase in the imported that could cause an increase in the prices of imported products. And one of the concern on the during that time was the continued disruptions in the supply chain, which could also had inflation in prices of the key commodities items such as rice, grains, and wheat. And from our side, as a Bin Dawood Holding, let me share with you this case study where we cooperated with the government and the other retailers, and we ran a campaign that to our customers and sending messages to the consumer not to get panic buying because of the all disruptions. And we had good enough of the when it comes to the security food, the quantities, the key items and the commodities and the alternative. And we successfully ran that campaign and we delivered these messages successfully to our customers. So this was one of the examples how we supported and cooperated with the government and to manage the crisis.
Wow. You guys actually encouraged people to buy less from you so you can help the government. That's awesome.
Yeah, although there was pantry stocking for the items because, you know, people shift from going to the restaurants and the restaurant was not open that time. So they had pantry stocking at home because of the cooking more at home. The family, they don't go out. But although, alhamdulillah, there was no issues with the quantities of the stocking.
That's great, Mr. Walid. Ms. Haneen, do you want to comment on how family offices can help their governments manage crises?
You know, I think that what Walid was saying is very important, kind of to support the bigger family offices, to support maybe the smaller businesses. I mean, it's a very interesting angle that he just mentioned because I actually never thought of it, but I think that when you support, for example, farmers, it's an ecosystem. You're creating an ecosystem and you're strengthening it. And it's, again, creating a more sustainable and durable, non-impacted environment if there's another pandemic in the future. And then you're also, with this, it also mentioned what Walid mentioned about the people that are capable in Saudi Arabia. You're also encouraging the people to be kind of nationalistic, country proud, want to do better things for their country, you know, be part of the sustainable systems. I mean, I never really thought about this question. I don't know how to answer it off the top of my head. You might want to come recircle back to me at the end of the conversation. But I think it's a great question because it's the people with the, you know, the people at the pinnacle and the families that have the financial power and they're cross country like Danube that are able to do that kind of stuff. Or someone like Yasser is able to empower more people in his resort and maybe kind of create a more of a luxury type of trained up people that actually know how to work in a proper luxury resort. And so every family has their core business. And the more they get people involved in it, the more they create ecosystems locally of people that are qualified, and they kind of they raise up the quality of the game, as Danube is doing with the farmers. I think that that's really important. But I have a question for Walid. Logistics is a very important sector, and a lot of people are very interested in logistics from the clients that I know. Can you pinpoint which logistics is the important one in Saudi? Which type of logistics? Because I'm not sure. They keep telling me logistics. I'm not sure which type of logistics they're talking about.
When it comes to the logistic, it's a big part of the logistics. So it's started from very early stage with the raw materials, when it starts from the raw materials to the factory, to the supplier, to our stores, to the end consumer. So it's a full cycle. We cannot separate one cycle from the another. So which part you want me to elaborate more in this logistics?
Okay, they keep saying something, I keep hearing it from people that are like in consumer products businesses in Saudi. They call it the last mile.
Yeah, okay.
So they all say we want to get into the last mile, and I can't figure out exactly what that means.
So they mean when it comes to the last mile, that means when they till it reach to the customer, to the end consumer. So it's so complicated, and we need hours to explain that.
Inshallah next time. But I just wanted to pinpoint that is something that I keep hearing. We want to get into the last mile, and I'm thinking if I want to find them a nice investment in the last mile, I don't understand what it means. So I have to start from there.
So, Mr. Yasser, if you can elaborate on this point, how can family offices help their own regions manage crises?
That's a very big question. It's a very, it's from my perspective, I can see, you know, like I think every family is in a different space or playing in a different area in terms of their areas of activity and business and their knowledge. From our perspective, it's really, again, you know, bricks and mortar, real estate. So it's a much more long lead, you know, process to procure a building than it is, for example, procuring something along, you know, food security, or, you know, where I can see families engaging much more quickly and much more responsibly. But I think in our case, because we're in a longer process, turning around the project, all I can think of really to answer that is to take on board, if you're referring to COVID, really just what this environment, I put my architect hat on, and I really think of like, how can we create better environments, better built environments that make, you know, make these crises more easy to manage. I think, you know, I mean, we're actually now sitting in one of our projects, which is actually a residential compound with a co-working unit, and it's got a you know, it's mostly 100% Saudi, rented out to Saudis here, and it's, you know, and it's got a, you know, it's created a social environment or a community, which has made it a lot easier, I think, from a crisis management perspective over COVID, for them to see it through, I think, rather than being, you know, in an apartment or in a house. Or so again, I'm going to speak always from that perspective as an architect developer. So, you know, and I think that's how we think about it. If that helps.
Yeah, it does. Anything you say helps. So there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
Dr. Celeste.
So maybe, Mohammed, I give a further introduction to yours, because we missed my last 7 years before joining you, where I was a vice president strategy for a large family office in the region.
Yeah.
So I will use that hat to answer this question. Maybe it's more suitable. I guess that we have two options. Using the existing business, and we need to recognize that, especially in the GCC, family offices are the veins of the economy. So they're so important. Of course, having a sustainable business that consider domestic stakeholders as well as the international one, and is resilient, because you need to think about the long term. You need to think about your future generation. So it's a model of business that by itself is naturally conservative and resilient. So I guess that being really sustainable in what you do, but able also to be agile enough to adjust to the current necessity and the current needs, supporting those specific sectors that you're already active in, or you might want to expand during this specific time in order to support your country. And for those who are diversified enough to invest already in technology and in specific innovative sectors, it's exactly to support the transfer of know-how that is required in this specific moment. And maybe, Mohammed, if you allow me, I just had a very quick comment on a previous question about sourcing locally. I really appreciate this question. I think it's very important for self-sufficiency, specifically during this crisis and pandemic times. And I go back to NEOM hat. In NEOM, we take this in consideration highly. And we have a NEOM industrial city for this purpose, not only to host company that will export. Firstly, they will support the demand, address the NEOM demand, then the Saudi demand. And in doing so, I want to provide the practical example that we are very proud of, and I guess all the Saudis proud of. It's a partnership among Aqua Power, Air Product, and the NEOM Investment Fund to set up in the NEOM Industrial City $5 billion green hydrogen plant in order not only to export this green hydrogen, but eventually power mass transportation by green hydrogen. So I guess the idea of localized production for new technologies as well for renewable energies, as in the case of green hydrogen, and the production will be done through 100% renewable energy. So we're talking really about a sustainable evolution. Going even to smaller example, if I can have the best practice for construction companies, and going maybe to Walid for sure personal experience, how we can localize human capital that really allowed me not to buy diversification and human capital in order to make this diversification sustainable, but to tap into my human capital. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Dr. Sassi, I wanted to ask you, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, if you allow me
go ahead.
to go back to the to Haneen questions about the last mile. As I mentioned to you, that the last mile, we mean by that is delivering the goods to the end consumer. But between we pick the products from the shelf till we deliver to the end consumer, there is about his location, what the items condition, which temperature we can save the items and deliver it safely to the end consumer. So there are a lot of let me call it steps before we get to the last mile delivery.
Interesting.
I hope I answered your question.
You did, actually. Thank you. I'm glad you quickly read about it as we were on. It's very, very good. Thank you so much. It's very interesting.
So, Dr. Sassi, my follow-up question to you is, when it comes to actually populating a brand new city like NEOM, that's going to have brand new infrastructure, everything is going to be technologically advanced. I mean, I feel like people need to go for a 4-year university course before they can be able to use that city.
I agree. No, I'm joking. So I guess that the most innovative side is a completely different paradigm from the many examples in the region and out of the region, is that we will not build first-class infrastructure and then trying to populate, because then you can really discriminate in who you want to attract. You then really break even with what you build, and then we have many examples where you just need to populate. But actually, that's different when you decide that you want to attract really the best talents. And this, I would say, is the biggest challenge. How you can attract talents, you need to create an ecosystem that has competitive and as attractive as many others you can find in other parts of the world, from Silicon Valley to Singapore and others. So the way we conceive it is, again, first we will use also our partners. So we will have human capital coming and talents coming from our partners. And I guess that soon other JV will be announced as the one I just mentioned in different sectors. So for all these different sectors, we will have different JVs. So we will have people coming and we will just need to offer them high standard of reliability and infrastructure. And secondly, the idea is to have a startup hub, so an environment able through the legal framework, the business support and others, but to attract those people who are really pioneers of the future. It's unique in the world, a place where you can start from scratch. The fact that we have 100% renewable energy is not top-down, is not a top-down decision. It's a bottom-up. We made a financial assessment that starting building a hydrocarbon facility in a place where it's the cheapest place where you can extract oil would be still more expensive than using 100% renewable energy due to the radiation of the sun in that specific location and the wind during the day. So the idea that you can start from scratch, from zero, and contribute in your specific sector, or even better, in your specific niche, in something that's absolutely new and disruptive, and also have the opportunity to fail eventually, right? This is very important. That's what will attract pioneers, futurists, young generation, and all kind of people, because we should not forget that NEOM is also a touristic attraction. So I guess that Yasser really very well highlighted the beauty of the Red Sea and also the willingness to preserve such a beauty and such an asset. But and Anin talked about the Red Sea, we're very proud of as well. But NEOM has an important sector that is the tourism. So as well, we will have 5 million tourists from 2030 to pass from NEOM. We will have another international airport beside Tabuk one. And this, I guess, it's very important when we think who will be living there. So we put ourselves in the mind of people that will be living there in 10 years. And I conclude to say something very interesting. I had the opportunity to speak in a class, a university class, to master's students. And I asked them, because I said, you guys most probably are those who will be living in NEOM, inshallah, in the future. So what do you expect? And everybody was thinking like flying cars and, you know.
That's what I expected.
Exactly, right? Flying cars. There will be, by the way, flying cars and drones and delivery and everything will be domotic, integrated. But what the answer was, it was, well, we will really want to be, we want really to feel that we are part of it. We want to be citizen of NEOM. We want to be NEOMians. We don't want to be just, you know, kind of second-tier citizen. We want to be part of it, feel part of it. So that can be declined into, of course, regulation, citizenship, and we have thought also this aspect, and we will have, beside physical residents and visitors, digital visitors. So we call the digital nomad. We will have their own identity, the digital wallet, because we're talking about 100% financial inclusive and cashless way of payment, where people from abroad will be able to visit NEOM through AR, VR devices.
Wow.
So not physically, but digitally, and will be able to be citizen of NEOM without being there. And I guess that this is an important factor to be considered, the idea to be part of this. So we want really people that want to come and be part of that. They are not just attracted by the first-class infrastructure or others.
Mr. Yasser, I'm going to ask you, since you're in the field of real estate, how is that going to affect the real estate industry in Saudi years to come? The NEOM project, how is it going to change the landscape?
In years to come, I wish I had a crystal ball to answer that. It's
let's say
well,
NEOM already got built today. How would tomorrow look like?
Well, I hope we're very much excited by all the projects in Saudi, and NEOM is just like, I love the opening question you had, which is what is NEOM? Because a lot of people don't know much, actually, I think, have that question on the back of their head, because I think it seems to be the limits of your imagination in terms of what is possible. And I think that's what's so great about NEOM. I think it seems to be, that you can, it's a place where, and I've seen online, you know, the line as well, which is this incredible project, which was also just announced. It's intriguing actually to think of how this will impact the future real estate industry here in Saudi. But I can only say that it surely has to be positive. It has to be, because it's you know, we're basically pioneering, you know, the way forward in terms of future city planning, and this is the stuff that, you know, architects dream of, you know, in terms of, you know, so it's great, it's fantastic, and it's sustainable, and it's ticking all the boxes for me, you know, in terms of, you know, but you know, hopefully we don't end up with just, you know, passionate architects living there, and, you know, just, you know, futurists. And, you know, it would be great to see a community there, like she said, people buy it. We need, it's about like people as well, and, you know, and regular Saudis living there as well. And that's the bit that I have to really would like to find out more from Dr. Celeste on. So I actually put that back to Dr. Celeste if we have time.
Yeah, so Dr. Celeste, Mr. Yasser is asking you this question.
I would like to thank you, Yasser. You give me the opportunity to speak about how urbanism actually in Neom can support the community and the creation of the community. The fact that you don't have street for cars, but only for people. It's conducive to people to meet each other, to spend time together, and also everything is 20 minutes walking distance. And you know, in the line, there's 170 kilometers, that is the line.
Yeah.
There's a second level where all the transportation, including the logistic transportation, has been conceived, while on the ground there will not be streets. So the idea is, and I think this is thanks to our architect, of course I'm not one of those, but the idea is that really, how can we think about a new model for urbanism to support sustainability and to support the highest quality of living? And in this, thinking about what we can share with the kingdom as a best practice, and I think it's already happening, is increasing the presence of green. When I came to Saudi 2 years ago, I was missing a little bit this. And the new project for Riyadh itself, where I'm currently based before moving to Neom, it's amazing. Even close to my place, there were new parks happening. And it's a small things that really contribute to your daily life. And what made me so happy, it was seeing families with the kids really spending all their time in these parks, like something new open. It was just a simple park. So on one side, I would say that everything has been created thinking about how we can put the person and the quality of life first. And I think that's for an architect maybe something that could be fascinating even more than
yeah.
And secondly, I don't think Neom as an ecosystem can exist without people. And the last things I would like to say, and maybe we haven't highlighted this enough up to now, is that Neom is not something detached from Saudi Arabia. So the different sector has been conceived, preserving also heritage. Thinking about the media, the aim is to become a hub for the Arab production. So the idea is that where we can be the best, but without losing where we are, and without losing an important heritage that actually will support making Neom unique.
Wow. Look, here's the thing. When an average Joe like me hears that a city is going to be multi-story and the first level is not going to have cars and the bottom level is going to have cars, it's very hard for me to conceive that. And that's why the misconception is out there about Neom as a city. Ms. Haneen, I'm going to ask you a question. We're going to change gears here a little bit. Have you seen any trends in terms of investment in more basic industries like agriculture, health, energy, going forward? Like, what are the trends in these industries?
Definitely, actually, it's funny because I'm actually, well, agriculture for sure, definitely, and food security. You asked me about technology, food security, and agriculture.
Agricultural, health, and energy.
Energy, I can't comment. The same energy players that I know in Saudi are still in that space. Where I've actually seen a little bit of change and tweaking is that they're bringing in technologies that increase efficiencies, yields, and decrease manpower. Because electricity went up 2 weeks ago, and the Saudiization program is in full blast. And with the 15% increase in tax, it's costing them a lot more to do business.
Mhm.
So they're getting more technologies that will reduce all of that in terms of cost and less reliance on manpower. And a good technology, COVID has forced them actually to change up their businesses. And that means they're bringing in new technologies. So what they were doing today, they jumped 10 years into the future. So the father who's 65 and his son who graduated from Wharton, who's been telling him, Dad, we need to get into technology. And the dad was kind of not really that excited. Now the father says, okay, we need to do something now. So now they're much more convinced. So they've been thrown into the future by force because everything has changed and gone online. So this is what I'm noticing in all sectors, and particularly in the energy sector. And also they've consolidated a lot, right? They're not making as much money as they used to make. So they need to find ways to keep operating. Their margins have really decreased extensively, and they're paying out a lot more. So it's a catch-22 now. And when you're really involved in that business, and that's your core family business for the past, since oil was started in the 70s, you can't get out of it. So you can't get out of it quickly. So you might say he diversifies. It's very difficult for a man, the patriarch of a family who's 65 years old, to suddenly diversify.
Yeah.
So they're kind of slowly doing it. And yeah, it's also a matter of, I'm sorry, that's my, excuse me.
No problem.
So it's very difficult for some of them. But like I said, technology has taken a big forefront now in everything. I really noticed that a lot. Agriculture, like I said, people are looking at hydroponics, they're looking at drip irrigation, but a new type of drip irrigation. The type of drip irrigation that's done by our neighbors, that takes almost no water, and the yield is increased by 3 times the amount. And there's just different types. And I think, Waleed, you might be aware of this when you talk to farmers and stuff. There's new technologies now that are really, it's all about efficiencies. It's all about saving costs. It's all about, getting more margin, more yield out of your business, because your business is now, you're spending so much more on it than you used to. It's costing you so much more just to run a business. So that's really where people are today. And again, it's back to basics. What does the consumer need in the market today? And I think all of us have kind of gone back to that basics. Like I say, alhamdulillah, every day that I have a roof over my head, a clean house, my health is good, I have food to eat. I mean, before I used to really be angry because my holiday was delayed by 3 days. Now I've changed in my mentality. I've even gone back to basics in kind of the way I think. That leads into the way people are investing as well. People are looking at things that are basic and what people need today in our surroundings in Saudi Arabia to keep us efficient. And I think everything is kind of revolving around that. That's manufacturing, and that's food, and that's agriculture, and the stuff that keeps a community alive regardless of what happens globally. And I think really that's how people are starting to think now, and it's basic. Am I wrong, Waleed, or does that make
Mr. Waleed, would love to have your comments on the subject.
Yes, or Waleed, you.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And from our point of view in Bin Dawood Holding, the sustainability and environment is our concern. So from our side, we did some initiatives in 2020 when it comes to the lighting in the stores, fixtures. It became a friendly environmental in our stores. And moreover, our famous Danube bag for shopping, it's totally biodegradable plastic bags, and we are promoting the multiple use bags rather than one use bag in our stores. So this is maybe a smaller scale for us when it comes to the environmental, but there are a lot of initiatives we are willing to have in the future, and we are planning for that.
But that makes a big difference, Waleed, if you allow me, because in Mecca, the only thing you see is Danube bag.
Bin Dawood.
Bin Dawood bags. So
yeah.
It makes a big difference because everyone buys from you. So, I mean, actually, it's a year-round thing. That's a lot of bags. It does make a big difference.
It's totally environment friendly because it's biodegradable. And also in Mecca, our stores in Mecca and Medina, and even across all Saudi Arabia, we are promoting for the multi-use bags. But it takes time. It takes time to transform to that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're done. Does anyone have anything that we can add before we move forward? Mr. Yasser.
No, nothing from me. I think it's been very good to be on the panel. Thank you for inviting me again on this year.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Yasser, and good luck with the resort.
Keep healthy is what I would say to everyone. Stay healthy and take your vaccines and keep your masks on.
We'll definitely do. Dr. Celeste?
Well, echoing Walid, and I think it's a great initiative. I guess that self-sufficiency rely on sustainability. So I guess that from our small contribution, going to the supermarket with a reusable bag to a bigger scale, I think that could contribute a lot to self-sufficiency and to the world itself. And thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you. Ms. Haneen?
Thank you so much. It was very interesting to hear what everybody's saying and to touch base. Inshallah, we'll see you all in person soon.
And Mr. Yasser's resort, definitely. We're gonna hang out at the opening.
And inshallah,
you're almost welcome.
Inshallah, in Mecca, we all have to pledge that we're gonna buy these bags.
Definitely.
Okay.
I'm more interested in the resort. I've got enough plastic bags in Dubai. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure to be with you and hope to see you very soon, inshallah.
Thank you, guys.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.